can't tell you how many times I'd be sitting in with the kids and Nickelodeon song. I go, shh, I think I'm the voice of that gangster crab. yeah, that's me. What show is this? Powerpuff Girls. I don't remember Powerpuff Girls. Well, that says you don't remember because there's so many.
When you look at the night sky, you're seeing the greatest equation in the universe. Heck, you're dancing. That's math, too. I mean, what's the language of dance? How do you learn your steps? It's even in the name. I mean, they call it the count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. What's a waltz? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just numbers, just math. And more than that, there's an art to it. What I do, all these files here, all these folders, these are all people's lives.
Welcome to the actor's side. He needs no introduction, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, and who isn't? I mean, he's a legend. But he's got an extraordinary acting career, too, both in front of the screen and voiceovers. I'm going to talk about that. And his 2 current films this year alone, both from Stephen King stories, and one, of course, The Life of Chuck, and the other, The Long Walk. This is Mark Hamill. Welcome to the actor's side.
Thank you, Peter. Glad to be here.
I was just talking to you beforehand. Boy, there's a real connection to your career, I think, with Stephen King. If I'm wrong, I may be wrong, but I think when you went to audition for Star Wars, they were also doing auditions for Carrie. And
exactly.
Can you tell that story?
Well, it was a cattle call, meaning you go into a room and there's 50 guys there, late teens for Luke and 35-ish and up for Han Solo. And I went into the room and it was Brian De Palma sitting to my left and George sitting next to him. And it was one of those, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow.
It wasn't specific to the material. And, you did your usual thing. And after 2 or 3 minutes, I said, well, thank you very much. I had an interview like that for American Graffiti, and I didn't make that cut. I did the perfunctory summation of, I'm in the middle of 7 children. My dad was in the military. I went to 9 schools in 12 years, etc. And it's just, you either make it or you don't. It was Fred Roos in that case. I didn't meet George. But it was funny because when I came out, Brian did all the talking. And I said, who was that little guy with the beard that was sitting? And they said, that's George Lucas. Oh, okay. But I didn't make the cut for Carrie, but obviously I did get, the next step was a screen test that I did with Harrison. I never read the script until I got the part.
Oh, wow.
So from the 12 pages of the scene, it was in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, no Wookiee, just Han Solo and Luke. And I couldn't figure out, when I went to do the screen test, I went up to Harrison. I said, you were in American Graffiti. Is this like a parody or a send-up of science fiction?
Like a comedy.
And he goes, let's get it done. He was no help at all.
Yeah.
I said the same thing to George. And he said, well, let's just do it and we'll talk about it later. Translation, let's just do it and we'll never talk about it ever again. But I couldn't get whether it was, because I thought, who talks like this?
Right. Yeah.
It was so unlike anything I'd done. I thought, well, it's a parody of Flash Gordon. I wonder if it's like, should I do an arch or have an attitude about it? And the only decision I made, which turned out to be the right one, is I'm not going to take it upon myself to comment on the material. I'll just do it as sincerely as I can, which turned out to be the right choice. But there's a line in it that's not, thank God, not in the movie, but I'll never forget it because it was in the screen test, where Solo says, okay, I've held up my side of the bargain. I'm dropping you and the droids as soon as I can. And I say to him, but we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense. I doubt if the actual security there is any greater than it was on Aquilai or Sullust, and what there is most likely directed towards a large-scale assault. Huh?
That wasn't in the movie.
Thank goodness. But I mean, and it makes sense. but we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense, meaning the Death Star is so intimidating.
Yeah.
I doubt if the actual security there is any greater than it was on Aquila or Celis, 2 made-up planets. And what there is most likely directed towards a large-scale assault, like an armada. We can slip in because we're the size of a dime. Now, you can diagram the sentence and make sense of it. Now trying to make it sound like it's a spontaneous thought that just came to you in the moment. As Harrison famously said to George on set, you can write this shit, you just can't say it. He had a way of really, he was remarkable. I had gone over to do the first portion of the film, which was in Tunisia, Northern Africa. And I went with Sir Alec and the actors playing the droids, Tony and Kenny Baker. And once that was done, we came back to the studio and Harrison came over. And I remembered her not only did I remember him from American Graffiti and The Conversation, which he was impressed. He was glad I knew his work. But he was instantly, I think George does that. He casts people so close to what he wants that he doesn't really have to do heavy lifting in terms of direction.
Right.
So Harrison was effortlessly cool, snarky, and I, like Luke, instantly looked up to him as a big brother or a mentor, and just fantastic. And the last piece of the puzzle, of course, was Carrie. Yeah. And I wasn't prepared for her because she was 19 years old. And I said, we should probably go to dinner to get to know each other a little bit. Guinness had done the same thing for me. So we went to dinner, and within 10 minutes, she's telling me stories about her family. But should I be hearing this? It's personal things that I wouldn't share with somebody unless I knew them 5-10 years.
Right.
She was just unbelievably candid to the part where it was like excruciating about drug addiction, all this stuff. I mean, it was, but effortlessly witty. And the chemistry was just there. I mean, I didn't realize at that time that all that time we spent together running around the Death Star and having just the time of our lives. It was just so much fun to go to work, to get paid, to pretend as you did when you were a child, making up scenarios in your backyard.
So amazing. I got a chance to interview Carrie in Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival, and she had a dog named Gary.
Yes,
and
I know Gary
had
very
his
well.
Own chair,
the tongue hanging out.
and Gary went everywhere. He just jumped up, was part of the interview.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then just recently, Harrison Ford. So you're my third part of this trilogy here. Okay. Right? It's extraordinary when you started that movie and you had no idea what it would be, that this is going to affect your entire life.
Not to the extent. I personally said, Robert Watts was the production manager, and on the very first day at the studio, I went into his office and he said, what do you think about what we're about to start here? And I said, I think we're on a winner. I thought if it plays the way it reads, people don't understand the script. Before the special effects, before John Williams' music just popped. It was funny. It was unpredictable. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now, I'm predisposed to like these sort of things because I was a big fan of the original King Kong and Ray Harryhausen. I loved all that sort of science fiction fantasy all my life. Carrie and Harrison, not so much. But I said, no, I don't. I said to my friend, Jonathan Benard, look up all the grosses for fantasy films. You don't have to go back to the silent era, but like from sound on, do a printout. And he did. By the way, I gave him the script. He said, can I share it with Meredith? Sure. I mean, we were passing it all around. This is before, it became top secret and your name was, serial numbers and about leaks and so forth. But I said, look, at that time it was budgeted at $7.5 million. So you do the math, it's double plus half. I said, we're going to make 35 if we make a dime. Yeah. And I said, that'll be enough. We were concerned because we had signed a 3-picture deal. If that one was successful, we'd owed them another one and a third. So I of course, did not have any idea that it would land the way it did. But I did think that I said, it's got everything. The humor, I mean, robots arguing over whose fault it is. The princess is effortlessly, it's feminism personified. I mean, she's not intimidated by Vader in any way. She is disgusted with her rescue. You call this a rescue? Give me that gun. I mean, I thought
You're right. It's hilarious.
It is on its face. If you play it completely sincerely.
Right, which is what you did so brilliantly.
All of us did.
I'm curious, though, taking you back to if you had gotten Carrie, it would have been a whole different career. And that,
I had a television series called The Texas Wheel.
I wish I was going to ask you about, because Jack Elam, I love that show.
I did too. And
MTM, right?
Yeah, MTM, Mary Tyler Moore Productions. And it was written and created by Dale McCraven, and the New York Times. The critics loved it.
Oh, it's so good.
Probably the finest bucolic comedy since Tobacco Road. Now, if that had been a hit, I wouldn't have been available.
I was literally going to ask you that, because that show got canceled right away. It's one of the
4 episodes were aired. We did 13. They canceled us after 4. What happened was they bought it and they were sort of afraid of it because it was so unconventional. At that time, to be a sitcom with no laugh track was unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted us to put a laugh track on it. CBS offered to buy it and make it an hour long. But I was devastated because it was a character part. In other words, my character hated Jack Elam as the father, but was more like him than he realized. Big braggart, pretended to be a womanizer when he was a virgin. I mean, it was a funny character, but he was very unaware, self-unaware. And I loved it because I didn't get that kind of comedy. I mean, I didn't get parts that I relished as much. And when that was canceled, I was just devastated. I told my agent, I said, I don't even want to work anymore. I mean, if I come back, it'll be in a year or two. I just can't see it. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And
it was so good. And Gary Busey.
Yes, the first one. And I tested, they set me before the older brother, and I tested with Tom Ligon, a Broadway actor. I think he was in Streamers, very fine actor, and Gary Busey. Now, I didn't have any casting approval, but they asked me, what did you think? And I said, well, Tom Ligon is just rock solid. I mean, he couldn't be better. But I said, I have to tell you, that Gary Busey is authentic as it comes. I mean, he was from like Oklahoma or something. I just couldn't believe it. He was so unconventional in his look and his demeanor and all of that. But, I don't regret. I think, what if that had been a hit and had run 7 years and I didn't do Star Wars? I would be okay with that, because then it would have set me up to probably have a chance at more comedy, which I really loved.
Yeah, it's always the things that didn't happen and where the road not taken goes. But that was I have some bootlegs of that show. And I said, that's a classic case of them canceling something that would have been a smash hit. There's no question.
They were afraid of it. In other words, they bought it and they said, it's so unconventional. Instead of being on at 8:00, Monday through Friday, they put it at 9:30 on Friday in the second half hour of the Rockford Files and the second half hour of the CBS Friday Night of the Movies. The 4 movies we faced were Bullet, Bonnie and Clyde, Willard, and I forget some other fantastically successful feature film. The second half hour, so we didn't have a chance.
No chance.
But it was funny because the other 2 networks bid for it, but ABC, feeling the sting of letting All in the Family go.
Yeah.
Remember, they produced the original pilot, didn't pick it up, and let CBS buy it.
Yeah.
So it's like a kid saying, well, we don't want it, but you can't have it.
Yeah, really. And it would have made Jack Elam a much, much bigger star.
He was such a natural comedian, one of the nicest, sweetest men I've ever met. And when I see him, I mean, because he had a career. He said, I was the boss. And I said, what's that? He goes, well, I'd ride up on a horse and listen to the other actor tell us what to do. I go, yeah, boss, and I'd ride off. But he was a fantastic guy. I loved him so much.
Well, now I'm taking you back to Carrie because you didn't get Carrie,
No.
but your whole career has come full circle because this year you're working with 2 Stephen King movies. And the first one won the popular award at the Toronto Film Festival, which is a very important award and everything. Life of Chuck put it on the map. And I showed it in my screening series, and it deeply moved the people. I could tell, I show a lot of big movies, and this one really had a surprising effect. I thought even.
When Mike contacted me about it, I think it was in an email, I immediately ordered If It Bleeds, which is the collection of 3 novellas that it's included. Now it's a standalone with the movie as the cover, but I was really taken aback because just with I had only worked with him in Fall of the House of Usher, Mike Flanagan. But I was a huge fan. I'd seen The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass. When I agreed to do it, I went back to his IMDb and watched everything he's ever done. Yeah. A lot of it's online. If you can't get it online, you can order it. And in the case of Oculus, it was a great thing because one of the extras on Oculus is his student film version of the same material. So I can't think more highly of Mike Flanagan, both as a writer and a director, and just a really nice person. But
and it's a great role for you too.
But the thing is, considering his reputation in Stephen King, I'm expecting the epic supernatural horror of all time. And when I read it, I just couldn't believe it. It was unlike anything Stephen King had written. And, he'd written Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption and The Body, which became Stand By Me. So, I mean, to be fair, he's much more versatile than people give him credit for. But even having said that, my wife was saying, well, what's it like? I said, it's unlike anything I've ever read. Now, I don't know how they're going to adapt it, whether they're going to use the same Act 3, Act 2, Act 1, all of that. Yeah. But Mike did a fantastic job, and it's unlike anything he's ever
And playing
done.
Albie Krantz is this guy. It's a lower key thing, unless you're talking to him about numbers, math. Then the guy lights up.
Exactly. That's what really informed who this man is, because he's generally fairly dull. He drinks a little too much, but he is devoted to his wife and his grandson. But as you say, when the grandson says math is boring, well, it's like he spit on the Pope. He comes alive, and his defense of math is extraordinary. I said to it's cut down, I remember, because there's a line that I said to Benjamin Pajak, this extraordinary young man who plays that incarnation of Chuck. I say, and math can make you popular. The look on his face, and that's not in the movie anymore. I just recently asked him, why did that go? And he said, well, I felt like I had overwritten the scene, which is unusual for my.
Well, that's a great line.
Math can make you popular.
Yeah, because I had to take math over and over. I could not.
That was not my strong suit
either. But you also made you look a lot older in this too. I mean,
what I did was first of all, the wardrobe and hair people are the unsung heroes for actors because they've read the script. They're very artistically minded. So the clothing, as we were going through, yes, that best. And so you assemble the wardrobe. I said, white out my hair. I didn't want to wear a wig because I didn't want extra time in the makeup chair. I've always wanted to shave my head, either completely bald or like here, and have the Don Rickles strands across. But my wife, she's adamant. She won't let me do that. So I said, okay, just make it all white. And I had grown my mustache as much as I could, and they whited that out. And I'm only telling you this because the final piece was the glasses. And they showed me all the different glasses. I said, this is perfect. And I put them on. And it was only then that I looked in the mirror and went, oh my God, I'm Geppetto.
Pinocchio.
I look exactly like the 1940s Pinocchio, yeah.
Very very good. And what a terrific film that is. That's when you want to discover any which way you can. And The Long Walk. Then to have this, which is polar opposite. I mean, you are playing a vicious guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the major
Yeah.
is in this dystopian society, basically taking these 50 kids on a walk where only one of them will survive.
The premise is so ghastly that I thought, oh my God, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to even see this movie, much less be in it. It's that horrible. But what's clever about Stephen King is that's an attention getter. And this is a movie that just grabs you from the very first moment and never lets go. But what's clever about it is when you get past that premise, the real heart and soul of the story is the young men experiencing that ordeal.
That walk.
Yes, and the alliances and the rivalries and the triumphs and all of it. That's where the real the heart of the movie is. And my character is, there's no antagonist really. The state is the antagonist, but as representative of the state, that falls to me. And he is like just a sociopath. I mean, brutal, no sense of empathy whatsoever. And what I love is that my job was clear, and the real, I think, the performances that I find so remarkable are these young guys, and most of them I'd never seen before.
Yeah,
Licorice Pizza for Cooper, but
Cooper Hoffman.
Yeah, but David Johnson I hadn't seen. Alien Romulus. Oh my gosh. Really, both those guys and the relationship they have are incredible. But right down the line, Charlie Parker, and I don't want to start because I'll leave somebody out. But
Charlie Hunnam also.
Yes. Roman Griffin Davies. I've seen him in Jojo Rabbit, but that's what was so remarkable. And it was like seeing it for the first time because I didn't really witness it while they were filming. I mean, my character wasn't around to see all that. I'd read it. I said, I wonder how they're going to pull this off. And I thought that's where, because I know, for instance, my mom would have not wanted to see this movie. It's not for everyone, but if you stick it out, it has a lot more, I think, humanity than you would guess from the premise.
Very powerful. And now you have one more movie for 2025 coming out in December.
You're more highbrow.
A very highbrow. Yeah. But SpongeBob the movie, Search for SquarePants.
Don't you love the title? The SpongeBob Movie, Search for SquarePants. It sounds like it's important. And believe me, it's more of the inspired silliness of that franchise. Now, what's interesting, when I accepted it, I said, well, now I've got to do my homework. And I, Googled and went to IMDb, and lo and behold, in the 5th season, I did an episode that I had totally forgotten about. I went, oh, wow. Because in animation, you do volume.
Right.
Since you send the animation away and it doesn't come back for 9 months to a year, and the studio is not going to say, send an email, hey, your episode's on this Tuesday at 9:30. No, you're all on your own. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I'd be sitting with the kids and Nickelodeon song. I go, shh, I think I'm the voice of that gangster crab. yeah, that's me. What show is this? Powerpuff Girls. I don't remember Powerpuff Girls. Well, that says you don't remember because there's so many. What brought it back into focus was that episode was the first time that Ernest Borgnine had worked with Tim Conway since McHale's Navy.
Oh, wow.
A show I had watched in the 60s, and I was really excited to meet them. I mean, Borgnine and Marty, and I mean, both of them, I'm huge fans. Ernest had been recorded separately, but Tim Conway was there. Oh. So, I mean, I got to fanboy out about
to be amazing.
The Carol Burnett show. Yeah, he's just brilliant. And like I say, I was so good that 18 years later, they brought me back.
Well, I pulled this off of Wikipedia, but okay. This is just the part of his filmography that's called voice roles.
Okay.
So boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. It goes on for days. And then video games, it continues.
You know what's interesting is I went to Broadway because I said, I'm not getting character parts that I'd like, And in New York, you can just audition, and so I auditioned to replace in Amadeus
Right.
for Sir Peter Hall. And he said, well, actually, we're waiting to see if Peter Firth gets his green card. And they put me up in a hotel. I knew a lot of times they said, oh, you did a great job. Here, I knew they were serious because they paid for me to wait around, and it turned out. And I hated, it was like being, John Cassavetes in Rosemary's Baby, where you're wishing bad things for another actor. Not that he would die, but that he wouldn't get his green card. That one was extreme. But no, he got his green card, and I thought, oh, I really wanted this. But as a consolation, the producers who were doing Amadeus put me in Elephant Man, and then they put me in the first national tour, which Peter Hall did direct. So I did that.
So you got away from the Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I did. I don't know, 7 or 8 shows, one off Broadway for Alan Arkin. I played the Sam Levine, Groucho Marx part in Room Service. I got the best reviews of my career because the critics came thinking I was playing the Midwestern playwright, the wide-eyed innocent. Instead, I was the sleazy Gordon Miller. And, it was great. But the reason I bring this up was I had done one animated series when I was a teenager, the animated version of I Dream the Genie for Hanna-Barbera, and I loved it. I mean, I met all these icons of voiceover, Dawes Butler, Paul Frees, and June Foray, and people that I admired when I was a kid, because, you couldn't Google in those days, but I would go to the record store and get a Rocky and Bullwinkle album and look on the back and write down all these names. So I was really into it. I mean, I remember as a kid seeing this distinguished man with white hair step up to the microphone, Clarence Nash, and do the voice of Donald Duck. Now, I might have been 5 or 6. I never thought, oh, yeah, there must be people, to me, cartoons just appeared full blown.
Yeah.
And so very early on, I said, I want that job. I do a terrible Donald Duck. My Fred Flintstone isn't that bad. I mean, I was doing voices as a kid. And what I discovered was a character actor, the definition is an actor who you don't see the actor, you see the character.
Yeah.
Well, animation does that for everybody.
Everything.
So you're going to play characters you would never get on camera. If you're a 6 foot tall, muscle-bound bodyguard, if you can get the voice right, you've got the part, even though you'd never be considered if you were on camera. So this was a revelation to me. I thought when I really got into voiceover, doing 3, 4, 5 shows a week, I said, I'm happy with this. I don't have to be on camera ever again, as far as I'm concerned. And it was kind of a lesson in the sense that you're not there for the acclaim, because these voiceover people are the most famous characters you've never heard of.
Yeah.
So people like Jim Cummings. And again, I don't want to get started because there's so many great ones, but they're so prolific and they do so many different characters, and yet people don't recognize that.
As you have done, and of course famously also as the Joker, which you played for 30 years.
That was a turning point, because when I got that part, people, first of all, they didn't believe it was me. The people would demand me do the voice in the grocery store or at the airport because they thought I was treated or something. But and what was interesting about that is a lot of times if you want a part, I mean, I would have loved to play the Joker, but sometimes it can throw your timing off if you want it too badly. There's a desperation that comes through that makes people uncomfortable. Here's the context of the Joker. About a month before I was going in to read for it, the fan world had freaked out over the casting of Michael Keaton as Batman. Oh, he's Mr. Mom. He's a comedy actor. I haven't seen an inch of film.
Right.
But they went nuts. And I thought, wow, if they think Mr. Mom can't play Batman, how are they going to feel about Luke Skywalker playing the Joker? There's no way I can get this. And because of that, I went in knowing I couldn't get it. I was completely relaxed because I knew I couldn't get it. uh, uh, they had one drawing in black and white of the Joker, and the only note was "Don't think Nicholson." And I thought, oh yeah, well, I wouldn't have done that anyway, and nobody can do Jack like Jack. So I was completely relaxed until they said you got it. Then I thought, oh no, I can't do this. But what I'm saying in terms of turning point, when you do one thing well, they sort of want you to do the same thing over and over again. So for a while, I was typed as megalomaniacal villains, Hobgoblin and Spider-Man, and I don't go through the list, but what I'm saying is voiceover is, first of all, they're some of the most talented people I've ever worked with on stage, screen, television, you name it. And they're so welcoming. Once they realize you don't have a big entourage or show up in a limo or have airs about you, that you're there to sit down and do the work. I mean, within 2 weeks, I was one of them. And,
I'll say,
you get these series that, like I remember reading Avatar, The Last Airbender. I said, well, this is really good, but it's too smart. There's no flow. What are they going to put it on? Powerpuff Girls, this, and then Two Dumb Dogs. It's just too intelligent.
Yeah.
What I didn't foresee was how young parents would watch it with their kids. It spread in that sense. And it ran like 8 seasons.
You never know.
You never know.
The people don't know that it's Mark Hamill behind all of that. It's so...
Fire Lord Ozai was his name. And I loved it. I mean, again, if you, in your mind, can see yourself in that part, what's liberating is that you can't be seen. So you're going to make choices that you wouldn't make on camera, because with voiceover, it's sort of a heightened reality that more naturalistic films wouldn't want to see. No. And I just love it.
Well, who knew Mark Hamill is the ultimate character actor too? So many, when I look at this, and that includes Life of Chuck, which you can check out now. It's available digitally everywhere. And The Long Walk is in theaters as well, and extraordinary performances. And we can't wait for SpongeBob. Search for SquarePants. This is Mark Hamill. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.